Alright, so here we have two little boxes. The bottom one is the earth, the top one is the sky. So, mediums is what we're talking about, and the medium for this context is defined essentially as the in-between state, the in-between area of space, the in-between world, between two things. Now, for example, we're going to use the sky and the earth. Now, technically, the medium in between sky and the earth, if we did a little slice here, is actually the water or the sea. Because what happens is that the earth acts as a bowl to capture the sea, and the sky acts as a spatial dimension to essentially condense into the sea, meaning that the sky lowers its value. It becomes cold enough that it kind of turns into a thicker medium, which is this water. Thicker medium of water holds earth and can transmute. Technically, alchemically, they said the waters came first because when you dissolve water, it holds salts within it. Now, I guess you could make the counter argument that the earth could come first because when you dry earth, it has water in it, but I'm not really going to debate that. So the medium in between the sky and the earth is the sea. Another medium that I want to talk about here is a field of dirt. So this is dirt or raw earth, just earth. When it rains down onto the earth and the sun is shining, what do we get? We get little plants that start to pop up. We get grass, we get weeds of sorts, we get trees, and all kinds of nice greenery that appears, on the earth, right? So the greenery acts as a medium between heaven, the sky above, and the earth below. Essentially, it starts to grow, almost to protect the earth in a way, but also to soak up the rays of the sun and the water and all that kind of stuff. It's I guess it's parasiting technically off both the earth and the sky, but it kind of grows in between. Now, an animal is more. I have a little animal here. Animal is kind of like a, what do you call it? It's not bound to the earth. The roots of the plant here is bound to the earth. It's a little bit larger. The roots of this tree is bound to the earth. The roots of this weed is, it's locked in there. So plants are a medium which has earth as its base and vaguely takes from the higher elements. Animals are a medium which is higher than plants because it's not locked into the earth. And then, of course, a human here is he's levitating on a disc in this one, but I guess we could say the human is higher than the animal because the human can project their consciousness into alternate dimensions of reality and such, and they can spiral off and do all that and think and such. An animal debatably doesn't really think as deeply as we do. I mean, you can see dogs dreaming and all that, and or a cat dreaming. If you have pets, they dream and they do all that, but the human is definitely much more in that higher world. So these things are kind of like mediums between the sky and the earth. Now, if we have a creek and we have a bunch of rocks in the creek, it's rushing past, what happens between the rocks and the water? Here we have a rock and around it is water. Okay, now these are two separate things. We have number one, which is the rock, and number two, which is the water. Number three is the interaction between, I'll thin this down a little, is the interaction between the water and the rock. The rock's going to get this here, draw it over here, like this little skin of algae or something. You know, get this thing over it in the water. It'll be like, look kind of like that. And it gets this like this film around here, maybe underneath it gets a different film. Above here, it's interacting. Here, if we put it on a two-dimensional plane now, above is the sky, and there's another medium which is the rock and the sky. So number 4, number 5, I guess. You know. So the rock is, we drew it another way, the rock is here in the middle. Water, this is water, this is sky, and it's interacting between here and between here. Do that. So it's got these two mediums of rock interacting with water. It forms something, it forms a new element or a new chemical or a new substance, which is the in-between of the rock and the water. Similarly, up here it forms a new substance as well. Probably it's more dry on the top, but you know, it can form like those little mossy, that little fuzzy green thing that's on top, and you know, that stuff will feed off this. Now, a lot of this stuff, apparently, I'm an expert on this, apparently it's done bacterially. So bacterially, there's a conversion between the rock and, you know, it kind of converting to its oxide, or like maybe, I don't know, hydroxide potentially, or something like that. It probably have to be very alkaline. So just like an oxide or something in the water. Well, in the sky, you know, who knows? Does it give off some kind of spiritual element, like a spiritual version of whatever the rock is? If it's like quartz or iron or copper or, you know, tin or whatever it happens to be. Does it give off some kind of spiritual element? It's like chlorine or fluorine or something. I don't know. Maybe it just. I really don't know. There'd be some kind of interaction, because then we can zoom in again and say between the algae and the sky there is an interaction. Between the, you know, I don't know, whatever, between this and that there is another. So you form these chains, these eternal chains of interactions between things, and you just have infinite amounts of microscopic interactions. You know, you've got this interaction, and then a smaller one, a smaller one, a smaller one, a smaller one. It's just you really don't have to, you know, the most important thing is the first, maybe the second. But do know that there is, you know, everything is kind of infinitely interacting with everything else on infinite levels of dimensions. But we try to just keep it, you know, simple on the medium, you know, the middle level dimension, which is why I'm not really going to talk about, you know, bacteria. You know, they say it's like you have a pot of something, you have like a barrel or whatever. You look at this barrel here, and and in the barrel is actually do a see-through barrel. You've got grain and whatever, and it's got liquid there, right? So this is like the grain, and this is the water, and the grain's kind of already been transmuted into more sugars, or I don't know, maybe heating it or some other kind of fermentation process outside the water, and then what happens is you've got the interaction between the grain and the water, which forms like a grain tea or whatever, and it, you know, ferments into the alcohol. Now, on the more smaller level, it's the bacteria. It's the yeast. Maybe you have a grape, and that white stuff on the grape is the yeast, and you just crush up the grape and just throw it in the or you put the grape juice. You can just put grape juice inside. It works fine as long as you kind of have that white stuff, and you rub it into the white powdery skin of the grape. And anyway, then you've got that fermentation happening, right? And it's happening because of the bacteria. And alchemically, this was called, or magically even, this was called elementals. So elementals, which were invisible spiritual entities, which literally bacteria is a invisible spiritual. They kind of use as a word like energetic. And if you look at something that's fermenting, it could be a pile of hay. You got that steam coming off it. It's got a spiritual aura of the steam. If you look at a fermenter, it has a strange glow. If you open it outside the barrel, and you'll see this weird corona, hazy, energetic aura. It's very fascinating. If you tip the fermenting stuff as well, you'll see, if you just tip that on the dirt, it makes a bit of a mess, so I don't recommend it. You'll kind of see the air around it will become like hazy and weird and like psychedelic. It's interesting. That's like, I guess, the energy being released, and also it's like the bacteria or whatever, but that's what they would call elementals. That's what they would call spiritual energy, I guess. Energy, maybe quintessence even. Quintessence. Yeah, that's debatably that is a crystal, or from my knowledge it's like a crystal, or it's just energy. Because they didn't really have electronics, and assumably, some people think they do, and who knows. So they had words for this weird thing that looked like a mist or a smoke or something. They had to describe this weird kind of psychedelic, energetic thing that comes off things. But anyway, so yeah, I hope you kind of get the idea. If we have a jar and we put a bunch of like metal or rocks or whatever, and we fill it with water and we leave it outside, eventually, this will start to kind of mix into the water a little bit if it's got light, if it's got heat. Similarly, if you a piece of iron outside will start to rust, just because of the air. So we have that medium again. If you use a circle for the medium, we have the air, which is we have the circle, the big circle is the air. This small circle is the iron, and then in between this chain link is the medium of the oxide, the oxygen oxide. The degradation of the iron, it's going to a lesser state because it's being, I don't know, maybe the iron's power is being harvested and taken from the sky. Which I guess then we can think about, if we have two mediums, which one is getting the energy, or what is getting what? Because they're trading, and usually it's like if you have two humans, one's happy and one's sad. Why is that? Because this fella's energy is going here. You have this exchange, this aura, this energetic exchange. Of course, if they're doing business, it would be like a physical and monetary exchange. But you have this exchange between them, and if one person is drawing more energy from another, then the other person can be sad. And the medium in this case is an energetic medium, so it's I guess it would be spatial energy. Spatial dimension is energetic. medium for that. Now that's using mediums in another way, which would be, spatial medium. This is more maybe connectors. Maybe I should have said, connectors or something. I don't know. I guess you could say medium. It kind of still works. I don't know. Whatever. Connectors or something. I gotta figure out a word for this. Yeah, I hope you get the idea where that's why, if you spill something on something and you let it dry and you let it kind of, I don't know, out in the elements, it'll eventually change whatever the thing you spilled will start to affect the thing. Yeah, I don't know. Or if you leave a jar of water outside, because of the interaction with the air, the water will change. You'll get that film at the bottom. You might get a film at the top. It'll kind of become green and cloudy. The water is not that pure kind of water that came from a bottle or a tap. It's changed, and maybe it has an effect. You can feel it's got this colder aura around the water, a jug of water or whatever. Which is very interesting. So anyway, it's just something to think about. Hopefully you got something from this, and of course, feel free to check the links in the description. Feel free to email me if you want. Just make sure to use an imaginative subject, so I know you're not like a robot or a spam email. Anyway, of course, have a nice day and goodbye.